That's right. You heard the cheesy cat roar. Here we come. That's right. The Duval Dive Jaguars podcast here. We even perform on the bye week. What else can we say? We have the championship song. I'm sure Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country was dancing like he normally does when the championship song came on. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen, 6-2, best franchise start. Second best franchise start as far as wins and losses go for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as wounded as Steeler fans seem to be by, the refs, whatever. I think we'll have plenty of opportunity to explain why the Jags defense, at the very least, would have kept Kenny Pickett in basically non-productive as he was throughout the game. And of course, Mitch Trubisky had his struggles as well. I'll admit, let me lead in with this, Travis. Do you think, at least with the hit from Adam Gotsis to Kenny Pickett, that they got a little bit of? I think they have a little bit of an axe to grind, and I think they're kind of fair to kind of think that was being driven into the ground. What do you say?
Well, I mean, we were doing the live stream at the same time when the play occurred. Yeah. Yes, sir. When the play happened, and I said then, I'm like, no, we got away with one, and that's okay. It's okay to call a spade a spade. And when your team is the beneficiary of a bad call by the refs also had a bad call on the Tank Bigsby fumble. I'm saying it, whatever it is. The refs were just bad because the refs were bad. The refs weren't bad because they were wearing teal undershirts underneath whatever. So it is what it is. But no, they were right to say that the Kenny Pickett Adam Gostis roughing should have been called, and we were right on a few other calls. It is what it is. But nevertheless, personally, and we'll talk about this later, I felt that the Pittsburgh Steelers actually played better once Kenny Pickett left the game, because the Jaguars defense and coaching staff seemed to have prepared their defense philosophy based on the things that Kenny Pickett couldn't do, and not necessarily Mitch Trubisky. Just my opinion.
That's a fascinating concept, and they did move the ball better at times when Trubisky was in. It's just all of a sudden Trubisky would Trubisky and throw some interceptions in there as well. That being said, I believe the mobile element that Trubisky added in, even as a significantly older quarterback than Kenny Pickett, was something that flummoxed the Jaguars defense as well in its own way. I'll give you that much credit at the very least. Offensively too, listen, you're battling a Mike Tomlin defense. There was a lot of good stuff the offense did as well. Let me see. We're making it. You make the point about the defense and how they played. I'm inclined to put the defense up on deck first there too. Now, coming out of the gate, that first drive for the Steelers made me kind of, just as an analyst, see the Steelers offense as basically hapless from moment one. And they're throwing all stuff. You said though that coming out the gate, Mike Caldwell was doing some crazy stuff that you don't normally see.
Well, I won't even say that you don't normally see. I'll just call it what it is. Mike Caldwell, you can tell the man watches tape, and that stinks. That should be something that's brought up in conversation. But we have very many defensive coordinators that you start to question. Anyone who's watched film start to question, like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening here? And you don't have that with the Jaguars right now. Like, anyone who's seen the team knows, hey, these guys are doing some interesting things. And that's been going back for weeks now. And this was just another example. I mean, the second play of the game, Caldwell's calling an inverted cover 2, where instead of having the two safeties be the deep half responsibilities, he has the nickelback taking the short zone, puts the corner to have the deep zone, and puts the backside safety as the other deep zone. And frankly, Kenny Pickett just freezes. It causes a sack immediately, because he's like, he short circuits. What do I do with this? And he just eats the ball, and that's the sack, and that's the Josh Allen sack. And again, that's second play of the game. And from that point on, it just became obvious that they knew what he did well, and they were not going to call defenses in the way that's going to give up the things that he did well, which is, we talked about it last week. Kenny Pickett only is good at throwing stop routes and back shoulder fades. So he called a defenses. He made sure to call cover 2 defense, different variations of it on most of the first downs, and a few threw in a little bit of cover 4, four deep zones. And ever so often, if you got into a third and short situation, he would throw some man coverage and have his cornerbacks in the trail technique to take away that back shoulder fade and said, "Beat me if you can," just like he did against Gardner Minshew in Indianapolis.
So yeah, well, first of all, you got this is how good Mike Caldwell is. He found a way for Nickelback to not suck. So that's already number one out the gate, a great thing. Let's go ahead and go to the video while Travis recovers from the dad joke there.
Oh man.
It's
So
and
here, this is that inverted cover two that resulted in the sack. You had Trey Herndon, who's the nickelback, jamming the outside receiver in the bunt set, and he just and again, Pickett just eats the ball. He doesn't know what to do with it at that point. And this is again later in that same series, he almost throws an interception to again Trey Herndon, who that man's just showing up. Again, these players are doing what they should do, and it's awesome. But also the coaching staff, Mike, you are showing your behind this year, and he should be in some head coaching interviews. And then we later on the second drive, we get to a third down scenario, 3rd and 3, and you got Darius Williams running trail technique, and again, Kenny can't. Even when the receivers open, they challenged him to say, "Beat us over the top. Make sure you're in between the receiver and the quarterback, and make him lead the receivers." And again, we talked about this last week. This is the one thing he struggles with, and they knew it. And you just knew it was on a whiteboard somewhere saying, "Make him beat you over the top. He cannot lead his receivers," and he showed that he could not. And that's why I say it actually benefited the Steelers to have Mitch Trubisky come into that game, because it became obvious that they were hapless with Kenny Pickett playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think we mentioned the same thing too on the Pro Sports Fans app media cast when we were watching the game live, and doing the watch along. We mentioned that those receivers were open, but the corners, the Jags corners, who have had a fantastic season, even by the way, missing Andre Sisco and Tyson Campbell, a fantastic day. It's always great watching Dewey get excited about a game.
Hey man, I love when Dewey gets excited. When Dewey gets excited, man, people having babies somewhere. This is great.
Yeah, no, but it's I think, and I like the part too where you mentioned like they did it last week against Gardner Minshew. What you're telling me is they had in-game practice for this football game. So, which is a great thing to do when you're about to travel, that you have less time to practice overall when you're traveling, so
well, and again, and it wasn't exactly the same as what they did against Gardner, because they did a little bit more cover 2 man in that situation, but for the most part, it was the same thing. They knew these are the coverages you struggle against, and we're almost exclusively going to run it until you show me you can beat it, and he could not.
Yeah, no, and at the end of the day, by the way, the sack in question earned by the guy who allegedly can't sack anybody, Trayvon Walker. Not to say that Josh Allen didn't show up. He now has 9 sacks, more than TJ Watt. And I think when I last looked leading into this evening, he was second overall behind Donnell Hunter, which is all very interesting in itself. But before we talk about trade deadlines and things like that, because that was a whole other thing this week, let's go into and I'm going to say, even though you picked the videos this week, Travis, as you have for the season so far, this was still my favorite play of the day. I don't care how you slice it, but even you, as a defensive back, saw some things that were interesting to you. We'll go ahead and go over to the film, man. What did you see here that made this catch so great?
Man, I'm giving Press Taylor all the shout outs, and people haven't been talking about the good from him, because they've been wanting the Jaguars offense to be, the greatest show on turf or whatever. But this play, they broke Joey Porter Jr., who was having a great year so far. Like,
excellent about it for the most part.
Yeah, we talked about it on the live stream again during the game, and he was giving up one of the least yards per target in the NFL, not for rookies, for all corners before this game. Yeah. And nevertheless, after the game, the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive backs, they came into the media and they said front side, we were playing man coverage, whether there was a tag on the defense or not, whatever. But we know that Joey Porter should have had Travis Etienne going deep. However, Press Taylor had them run two stick routes, but they made the stick routes look like an out route for Calvin Ridley, and it froze Joey Porter in his steps. And there was that moment you can see that if you run it back, there's that one moment where he just freezes because he wants to help out with Calvin Ridley on the inside, and that's the difference in the play. That's all it took. It was just the difference of him running 2 yards outside. And ever so often, a cornerback, you get into those situations where you're trying to read what's happening while you're playing your guy, and that 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 snap of a finger, and the play is already over because someone as fast as Travis Etienne is the play's up, it's done. You're 60 yards downfield. So again, I love the fact that Press is just showing his behind in these empty sets. And this goes back to the Dallas Cowboys game last year. It goes back to the Chargers game last year. You've seen this man.
Chargers
He is
playoff game.
right. He is at his best when he is running these empty sets and watching how defensive coordinators are going to adjust their defenses to how the Jaguars play these empty situations. He motioned Travis Etienne out of the backfield and motioned them right back into the backfield multiple times earlier in the game to see how Pittsburgh was going to react. And after figuring out, all right, they're going to play man front side and they play zone backside a few plays, he comes back later in the game to that series. That's why I took my cap to him in that situation, because he set that up earlier in the game on multiple plays to find out what they were doing. And then game on the line, touchdown. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, here's the thing, and this is the psychological element. There's a whole lot of chalkboard stuff going on there that's smart. I get it. But listen, you're a rookie in the NFL, and you see a receiver like Calvin Ridley, who's clearly the number one, clearly the explosive play guy. And when he turns around, you're going to crack down because you have a chance to make a big play and get out there and do something, amazing. Dad's in the stands watching it, all of it. And then what happened was, I can't get mad at the young man for locking down and biting on Calvin Ridley such that it was. But credit to Etienne doing. I mean, I don't know that I would call that a wheel route or whatever that is. But
it really was just a straight. It was a straight fly. It was what do you want to call it? A fly route? What do you want to call it? A fade route? And it was so great because he caught it on the back of the ball. He was this close. He was this close to dropping it, and that would have hurt my heart, man. It was that close. So I was ecstatic to see it. And then if you watch the sounds of the game that the Jaguars put out, then you got Cam Robinson spiking the ball afterwards and just sounding like a kid at the candy factory. Man, it was great.
Yeah, no, and especially the way that points came at a premium, I definitely say that play broke the game open. It certainly made it to where field goals weren't going to do it anymore for the Steelers. I believe I had picked 21, was it 21-17 for that game? I wasn't too far off, but we both picked an ugly scoring game there too. And listen, Omar Epps is a bad man majama, one of my favorite coaches. And I liked his counterpart, Mike Tomlin, on that show House. Oh, wait. No, but listen, take nothing away. I think you made the point already, too. Death taxes winning records when it comes to Mike Tomlin. Also, death taxes winning records for Mike Tomlin, and also the over in the Pac-12 and Big 12. So, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and get the breakdown of the acquisition that the Jaguars made this week, shoring up the offensive line just a wee bit. Travis, tell me what you thought about it.
Whew. I mean, Balky, Trent Balky, he balled out, and that's what you're supposed to. I mean, these are the trades that you want to see from.
I need to mark this as you having a moment where you weren't critical of Trent Balky. That's a thing.
Hey man, I call it as I see it, and if I'm seeing all bad, then I'm calling all bad, and if I'm seeing good, finally, I'm gonna give a man credit for it. That doesn't mean that I'm out in the streets wearing a Trent Balky T-shirt just yet, but I'll call it as I see it, and this is
there great. Are times Trent Balky's the reason you're wearing the other shirt.
Correct. Yeah. So no, this is what it is. So for this individual trade in this isolated situation, hey man, that's the best you're going to hope for. Because again, this wasn't even on my radar, and I'm going to call it again. I call it as I see it. Now looking back at all the different reporters and all the different reports going back into last offseason talking about Ezra Cleveland being potentially in that last year of his contract, and kind of knowing that he wanted to that he wanted to market himself as a guard and a tackle when he enters free agency. Now that I'm searching for those things, it's easy to find those reports. But again, this wasn't even on my radar because I don't really follow the Vikings in that way. So now I can see it, and I'm like, all right, cool. So this more looks like it's going to be a rental type of situation. But nevertheless, for 2023, this is an incredible move. The Vikings obviously they signed Dalton Reisner, 2-3 weeks ago. And after Cleveland ended up getting hurt for those 2 games, he had a midfoot sprain. Um, well, Reisner did what he does, and he played, above average, and that made Ezra Cleveland expendable at that point. And with the Kirk Cousins injury, it just made sense for them to try to get something for him while they could, especially you're talking just hours before the end of the trade deadline.
And let's not forget, you mentioned Kirk Cousins' injury, also Justin Jefferson already on IR.
Correct.
To reboot the season may not be the worst plan. You feel sorry for guys like Harrison Smith and stuff. Even
Right.
Kirk Cousins himself, who are longtime Vikings when that happens. But I mean, I think that's the state of the team, and I don't blame them doing it. The Lions are taking care of business in the power vacuum that is the NFC North right now. So that's all a thing.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely. And if anybody wants to take a quick look at, go head over to Big Cat Country, where I posted an article on Wednesday. What does Ezra Cleveland bring to the Jaguars? And we kind of took a deep dive and just to all the things that he's great at, all the things that he may be a little bit inconsistent, and maybe it kind of went deeper into why this happened and what this could mean for the Jaguars moving forward.
Ding. You know what? I'm proud of you, Travis. That's your second ding of the episode, and I haven't even done one other than Pro Sports Fans, which was piggybacking your bing in the first place. But by the way, just in the name of bings, if you go to the Jaguar report, you could also see the very interesting concept that the Jags won this game in a way you would expect a Steelers team to win this game. Rough defense, grinding offense, and just, a tough football team all the way around, a team that gets in your backfield and could potentially hurt your quarterback. Unfortunately, by a play that should have been called, but nonetheless, were you waving around a jag rag right there? Is that
I needed a yellow towel, but I didn't have one, so it had to be a jag rag instead.
See, I hate to, for all my Steelers friends, give me just a second. I went to actual Heinz Field, and got one as a souvenir. So there you go.
Right. Oh man!
By the way,
man has a terrible towel in his house.
Shameful. Well, no, it's a souvenir, man. Listen, I'm a football connoisseur. By the way, this also made an appearance in a UCF podcast. I don't know if you remember in 2019 in 2020, I think it was, where they had 4 false starts to open the game against DCU. This was a prop my wife threw against my head. Anyways. So, we could be all silly. So, if you want to see how I thought the Jags won the Steelers game in Pittsburgh fashion, check it out, Jaguar Report. Bing! So, now that we've done all our binging, let's go ahead and play our little game show where we give out awards. Check all this out, my friend. Now, listen, I know that we're on a bye this week, but we had to come up with something interesting to do. And it just so happens that the bye represents the middle of the year for the Jaguars. So Travis, in all his intelligence, suggested we do mid-season awards for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Please, Duval Devout, let us know what you think, what you agree with, all that stuff. Set Twitter ablaze, if you will. You'll see our handles right here. And if you're listening to the podcast, that's at the SOTG for me and at Travis D. Holmes with Big Cat Country. By the way, that's Holmes spelled like Sherlock Holmes as he's hanging out in his home while we do this podcast. That was cheesy. I had to get it.
Yeah, but thank you, sir.
Anyway, let's get what I think might be the easiest of the 2 awards. Our midseason MVPs for offense and defense. I'm going to set the table for defense because I don't think there's any way you pick a defensive MVP this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars that's not Josh Allen. I've been on other shows saying I can make a good defense, your pardon expression, or a defense for Josh Allen being an MVP league-wide if you do anything other than look at stats, which people, unfortunately, in this business don't. But, I'm not saying he would win it. I just said candidate. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, Josh Allen clearly the defensive MVP. If you have somebody different, I'm very interested in hearing your theorem, Travis.
I wish, but no, we're on the same boat, man. Nine sacks is 9 sacks. That's defensive MVP easy, hands down.
But it's not just the sacks and the numbers.
The
Like the
pressures.
impact he has, exactly. It's the impact that he has up front. Teams have to account for him. The same reason he has 9 sacks is also the same reason the guys behind him have so many interceptions and why this team's among the top in takeaways in the league. By the way, Home Slice happens to have a couple himself there too. By the way, yes, I did just call him Home Slice. Please try and take mocks me too much. Anyways, offense. Travis, who you got?
I mean, I gotta go. I gotta go with the older of the ETN. Of the ETN brothers. Gotta go. Yeah, yes. Travis Etienne. I mean, 8 touchdowns, over to 800 total yards, and no fumbles lost on a team. On a team that's had fumble issues with the people backing him up. Yeah.
Last year, you're talking about last year. He gave away a couple games with fumbles, right?
That's fair. That is fair. I actually questioned whether or not he was going to come back from that. Like how moving forward. I'm keeping it 100. I had that question.
He got you to put the T-shirt on a couple times, and I said, "Listen, keep that hanger handy. He's going to get it right. You'll be able to take that shirt off."
Travis Etienne in 2022 is what has me holding out strong hope for Tank Bigsby moving forward. So that is my case. That is my I guess my case in my scenario, I should say, for Tank Bigsby is just like, hey, let's get him to the offseason, let him reset, and kind of see what he is moving forward after he gets that offseason under his belt. But Travis Etienne is showing his behind while you have an offense that's still trying to figure out his full identity and filter through his offensive line issues and everything else. In the meantime, he is just shouldering this whole offense and kind of just bringing them to the finish line. I love it.
Listen, you mentioned all the stuff he's done on the ground, and rightly so. Half the reason the receivers have broken open things in games is because of people coming in and daring Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball, to which he snickers at you before setting up. Then he pulls out his phone and puts in the dang Uber driver, the Uber Eats from Waffle House to come over to the stadium because you didn't take him seriously. But I say all that to say you can't rule out his receiving impact as well. Listen, in a world where you're cheering for a team, Travis, where Travis is cheering for Travis, as it would turn out, where pencil whipping is the name of the game in what I would even almost kind of call kind of a West Coast style of offense, so to speak. You got to have a Travis Etienne to do it. Am I saying he's Roger Craig? No, but I'm saying he's that kind of versatile. And forgive all the 49er metaphors there, but I know they're going to be the next opponent, and I just realized that I forgot to change hats before hitting record, so my 49er hat is in the video. Sorry. But,
no, I mean, Travis Etienne last year and the whole season had 316 yards receiving, man. The man has 266 right now at the midpoint of this season. So like he is almost what is that, like 50 yards short receiving of his high from last season overall. Like the man's again playing out of his mind.
That's what evolution looks like. And I tried to tell you in the preseason game against the Steelers or the Browns, I forget which, that I liked what he was doing, but you weren't ready to commit. I sound like your wife.
I wasn't ready, man. I didn't see the light. I wasn't in the words of Dion, I wasn't a believer yet. Just that. And that's okay.
You do believe. Okay. Let's go to the next category, Travis.
Cool.
Team best rookie this season. Anybody who knows me and my role on this show probably already knows my pick. Biggest impact rookie this year, Travis Holmes. Who you got?
I mean, come on, it's got to be Anton Harrison, right? Like, I mean, if there's another answer, then I'm at a loss. I won't lie to you. In the words of Doug Peterson, he's absolutely had a baptism by fire early in this rookie season. The Jaguars
stopped.
I'm just saying that the Jaguars are top 3 in the league in the percentage of snaps where they leave their tackles on an island without chipping, double teams, etc. And he's had battles with Chris Jones, Leonard Floyd, Cam Jordan, TJ Watt last week.
TJ Watt.
Right, and he's won his fair share. Like he's has some struggles, but who won't against those guys? But he's held his own as a rookie. It's
As
got to be him, right?
yeah, as a rookie, who, by the way, listen, hey, let let me talk to you. You open the season, you got two guys that are top. Hey, you're going to be one of these guys that's in the rotation at one of the most important positions on the bleeding field on offense. No pressure. Oh,
Mm.
and just so you know, one of the top two guys in question is going to be out for the first 4 weeks. So you, homie, you got this. Oh, by the way, the second game of your career, your first time playing in your new digs, you're going to be playing against a man who was holding out as a world champion and is going to play out of position just to target you.
That's true, because he normally moves around and plays like 20% on the edges, and they put him on the edge that game like 80%. Just for Anton. You're right. That's baptism by fire if there is none. Yeah.
I mean, but
Goodness.
listen, credit to the young man. I felt like he did pretty good in preseason. I think in the Lions game, he even outperformed Cam Robinson. Whole other question. But with all the above in mind, yeah, I don't see how best rookie does not go to one. Anton Harrison. Yeah, that's not a surprise there. Speaking of things that are surprises, biggest surprise for your Jacksonville Jaguars in 2023, Travis Holmes.
I've been waiting for this one. Hey man, I'm not going with the player in this situation. I'm going with the coach, Mike Caldwell, the guy who very many Jaguar fans, literally in season, during a playoff run, were saying that they wanted him to be fired last year, which is just wild. But fans
This is what
sometimes,
happens, by the way, when Chad Henne sees success against your team, fans tend to freak out.
I mean, fair, but also not fair. If you remember how that, yeah. But because Mike was, again, he was coaching above above the materials that he had in the pantry, if you know what I mean. Like he was making some fire meals with some basic ingredients at the time. So like these guys have become a little bit, better, more mature, more seasoned, and he is out there coaching his behind off. Like again, you talk to anyone who watches film and they'll tell you, man, this defense is doing some really interesting stuff, and they have solid players who are also growing at the same time. Mike is putting himself in a room where he is absolutely going to have some head coaching interviews, and I love to see it, man.
You love to see it, but you'll hate getting that news brief or having to write that news brief for BigCatCountry.com. Bing!
I do hope it don't happen though. I hope he's in the room, but I also just selfishly don't want him, to get it just yet. Like, I just want him to be available for the next round. Give us 2 years with him.
My whole thing is I did it with a Bing. That's why mine was better. Anyway, it was a Bing for you too. Dang it. Biggest surprise for me. Yeah, you went one direction. I'm going a little different on one. The turnover numbers, buddy. Holy guacamole. Who had a defensive struggle against Kansas City? I didn't. Okay, I did have them beating the Bills. That's different. But listen, I know part of it is playing Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder, something else I also had on my bingo card going into the season. However, I did not see 6-2, and I did not see myself writing upwards of 3 articles featuring a defensive element to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not here to tell you their defense was bad, but I sure didn't see this. I think we're actually really only now, or at least me, Travis, starting to see the real impact of Shaquille Griffin being injured for most of the year and what that did to this defense. That is insane. What this defensive backcourt is doing this year, as other guys were getting experience filling in for Shaq Griffin. No disrespect to Shaq Griffin. He even came out, had an excellent game against the Jaguars in the Jaguars defense's only really bad game of the year. But the turnovers that they've done this season, and among the top in the NFL, didn't have it on the bingo card. And if you're a Jags fan, if you're a member of the Duval you absolutely love it.
Well, that's funny to me though, because it wasn't on your bingo card, but it was on mine. Because they were tied for 4th in the league last year with Buffalo in turnovers, and it just went under everyone's radar because the Jaguars' offense became so good in the second half of the season. And but the vast majority of those turnovers that they got also came in the second half of the season. It's just no one was paying attention to it.
I'll tell you what else affected me too. I mentioned the point about Shaquille Griffin and that putting a bit of rust and dull on the
Hmm.
defense. And then hearing over the offseason, oh, you need a pass rush, and not really getting one. Hearing constant complaining about you didn't get Aiden Hutchinson,
Fair.
and just not understanding the run coverage aspect. No, I'm not making fun of you. You never, well, okay, you kind of did say Trayvon Walker was a potential bust pick, but
No. Yeah. All right.
yeah, I totally did. Okay. You weren't as irate as some of these other people out there in the fan hood who are going after this as
Yeah.
as I don't want to say a fireable offense, but listen, Trent Baalke's made worse moves. Every time I watch Michigan football nowadays and see who's coaching them, sorry, different team. But the punchline
Mhm.
is,
No, we talked about the process versus the result. That's all. And now that's all. And unfortunately, that's kind of where it goes.
well,
Like we
yeah.
we, we spoke about that on the show.
The other part of the process that threw me off, they didn't get Joey Pointer Jr. or any of the other corners I was clamoring for. Between
Hmm.
that, not getting the pass rush, and listen, I allowed my mind to go the wrong direction, but you stayed true, and listen, you're just smarter on defensive stuff than me. I think we've seen that on this show plenty of times. So that's all cool and that's all good in the hood, as they say there. But your biggest disappointment of 2023, I'll ask you, Travis. I don't think you're going to match me here because I think you're going to have something a bit more in depth. But what's your biggest disappointment this season?
Unfortunately, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence, uh,
Fascinating.
which is, I mean,
Somebody's
because again,
Twitter hate.
he's been good, and the biggest part for me is he's done a lot of the things that I originally thought this team's going to be so good if they can just pick up what they left off last season. I.e., they are good in the red zone. They're not turning the ball over, and for dumb reasons, and they're just staying on task. They're just staying on cycle. They're just completing the basic plays that are there that the defense are giving them. And right now, as we're in the bye week, I can objectively say they're doing all the things that they did last season at the start of the season. The only difference is they're just a better team. They're just better overall, if that makes any sense. Like the floor has risen
Yeah.
as far as that's concerned, but they're still making those same mistakes. And my hope is that when they take that next step after the bye, as they did last season, that this team is going to move from being, that whatever it was, 2-win team before the bye last season to being, I mean, goodness gracious, undefeated in the second half of the season or something along those lines. That's my hope because, again, those red zone interceptions, they're still happening. Those boneheaded interceptions, those things are still happening. I wanted to see this guy be up here, top 2 in the league, top 3 in the league that we know he's capable of, not this, middle of the pack, Kirk Cousiny stats as far as that's concerned, and just having those that one turnover every game where you're just scratching your head. And we've all done it. Every game, there's that one interception, even back in the preseason, and then the Cowboys game. It's just that's that one play every game that you just like, dude, what was that? I'm happy he got it out of his system early, but every team won't let you come back from that.
Yeah, no, it will. And I mean, just take the Steeler game. There was definitely one that he was trying to force to Calvin Ridley. I don't. That's not a bad pick. The reason why I can't commit to it like you have is I've seen him do too much amazing-ish that he would not have completed. Hell, this time last year, let alone 2 years ago when he was mired in Urban's coaching. Okay.
It's only my biggest disappointment because of my expectations that I set on his shoulders.
That's true. And we'll see, even some of the expectations, some of them he has met. This dude made some big third down throws to win some football games lately. We could talk about Foster Moreau handing the game to the Jags all we want to. That's not even a possibility if Trevor Lawrence doesn't hit some key third downs in the football game in question in a short week, while also leading the damn team in rushing yards with an injured knee, by the way. So that alone is very Patrick LaVon Mahomesian. And if you have those kind of moments, I still think Trevor's trending up. That being said, in your defense, you're calling for the first half of this season, and there have been elements of games where in the first half of the season, Trevor Lawrence has had those bonehead moments. But you know who's had more bonehead moments, in my opinion, that had bigger impact on this football team? It was a guy who led the league in drops at one point during the first half of the season. Yes, I know it's going to go away, or at least we're all hopeful if we're watching football, not just as a Duval devout, but football lovers. And I know fantasy owners everywhere are going to agree with this, but that's not the reason. Listen, Calvin Ridley, if you catch that ball at the beginning of the Chiefs game, they done beat the Super Bowl champions, okay? Then I think this would be the franchise best start or tied for it or something like that. I don't know. I need to look it up, but it's a whole new world. You are already battling at this point with help from the Broncos of all bleeding teams to be ahead of them in the seeding. People are already talking about you, but then people now are talking to you about coming out the AFC. I mean, I still don't. I'd still believe you'll have only 10 wins, Jaguars. I'm sorry. But, man, listen, you were supposed to be all that in a bag of chips. You look great in the preseason. You gave out a first good game against the Colts, and then you lead the league in drops. I got to think that's disappointment worthy. And some people then, in your defense, Trevor was trying to target Calvin Ridley and force him the ball for the Steelers games too. You definitely got to put that one on him. And Ridley has come around. But listen, at the end of the day, I'll put it this way. I don't know that Calvin Ridley wants to stay in Jacksonville, and it's not because of Jacksonville or the fans or anything. I think he wants to be in an offense where he is more of a feature than a cog in the system. That being said, they win some games and they actually make some noise late in the postseason and start actually talking about AFC Championship, that might keep him around. That's a whole other conversation. But that bonus check is pretty sweet, I hear. But
should be interesting.
Yeah, I got Calvin Ridley. I'm afraid.
He was second on my list, just to be clear. So we almost agreed.
Well, the great football minds, Travis. It's not about agreement or disagreement. It's about whether or not it's a fact. I don't care about your feelings.
I care about my feelings.
I care about your feelings too, though. Just not facts.
Appreciate you.
Facts are a-holes. I'm not. How did we get? That's fun. Anyways, I know this episode's running a little long, but that's okay. It's a bye week. We can get away with that. Best value player. So best bang for the buck on the team. Travis, who you got?
Oh, we are going with the man who was tied for third in the NFL with interceptions, Andre Cisco. Come on. You are getting all pro safety play from a guy on his rookie contract? Man, that's got to win hands down every time.
Buddy, I love that pick. That's a great pick. I would probably pick that, but in the name of good radio spirit, I thought about Walker Little even. But how about, hear me out, you don't go in the offseason to the free agent market when something goes wrong and your left tackle gets suspended. You just pull the guy you pulled out of the damn stage from the draft and plug his butt in there on a literal rookie contract.
Yeah.
I got Anton Harrison here, man.
Yeah. And that's fair. For all the reasons we talked about earlier.
Fix it, go. Fix it, kid. Andre Cisco is clearly the answer, though. Let's be clear. But, yeah, no, I got to give Anton Harrison some love there, man.
And he deserves it. He absolutely does. Again, all the baptism by fire and him just holding his own, and the man's played some good football in spite of being left on an island, with no food and water for weeks, and he's done it. He's done what he needs to do. It's been great.
And yes, no one has extinguished his fire. He's still on Survivor Island. That's correct. Jeff Probst isn't there, giving him. Well, no, actually, he's giving him challenges this week. Anton, you're facing Chris Jones.
Hey, he finds a way, man. The man finds a way, though. It's really good. But I'm actually just realizing, as much as I love my defense, I'm actually giving. Well, I say it should be obvious that I love my defense because I'm actually I think I've given defense the vast majority of my answers, whether it's Mike Caldwell or, we're talking Cisco, we're talking Josh. Like, goodness. All right, cool. I just realized I'm going more defense on my answers, but the defense has been balling out of control right now.
Yeah, they are. They've carried the team. I've made this clear, myself in my writings and ramblings on various podcasts, such as the Student of the Game podcast, bing, among others. But you mentioned Josh Allen. We mentioned him as the defensive MVP together, so like that one doesn't really count.
Fair.
And hey, my biggest surprise was defensive too. So it's not that you're biased. They just done that much ish as a unit.
Yeah.
And it all starts with Josh Allen. I think that's what I derive from all of the above.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, last two here. Let's see. Biggest off-season acquisition.
Oof. Now this was a hard one for me because I'm still going defense. Funny as it sounds, funny as it is, and I'm sort of split. And I would love for you to see if you could break this tie for me, because I'm actually split between Devon Hamilton and his absence being obvious, or Trey Herndon and what he's actually put on tape on that field right now. Trey Herndon, obviously, $2.6 million on the 1-year extension. I should say re-signed, because he was a free agent technically. And Devon Hamilton, what was it, a 3-year extension? And he wasn't able to play. And then when he's immediately able to play, they're getting inside pressure, and it just changes the defense that was already pretty dominant. And I'm kind of split on that one.
Listen, I if it were me, I would go Herndon, simply because I'll put it this way: Andre Cisco is going to demand a big contract pretty soon. I think that's coming. But listen, he's already the biggest rookie. It's already the what was the other topic?
The best value.
Yeah. How do you not put Anton Harrison as the best acquisition?
Because I feel like Trey Herndon, honestly,
fine. I'm being consistent.
Because I feel like Trey Herndon is all right. Let's have a real objective conversation though, right. Because this is a weird one, and I'm not trying to take a dump on Anton Harrison, because he's played incredible, and again, I've already given him his accolades twice already here. But I can objectively also say, if I'm comparing Anton Harrison's play objectively to other tackles in the NFL, he is in the bottom third. I'm not trying to judge him as a rookie. I'm just saying, like, even for PFF had him, at less than a 60 grade as far as his blocking was concerned. He's had some good games, but he's been given such massively difficult challenges that it's hard to say he's this incredible guy. Meanwhile, Trey Herndon actually has played, like, we're talking top 15 to 20 in the league.
And you're listing re-signings as well. That's kind of the mistake I made too. Okay, that's fair.
Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah, I mean, because technically he was just an acquisition. He wasn't but yeah, I got you. Re-signings, yeah. But because of how well he's played, that wasn't on my bingo card, bro. It just wasn't. Like, I remember I didn't like Trey Herndon last year. I wanted him to get another corner and bring another corner in to compete with him. So to find that Trey Herndon's up here now, meanwhile you have Darius Williams, meanwhile you have Campbell. Wow, like, again, that just wasn't on my radar of things, even the realm of possibility. And now seeing how well this guy's playing, I got to give him his flowers.
So no, and hey, I ain't mad at you. And now the more when you put it, when you spin it the way that you do, I mean, heck, Trey Herndon probably is the right answer, because say what you will, the expectation wasn't him doing what he has done.
Yeah.
Clear. So, yeah, that's 100%. You gave me the bingo card defense. I'm rolling with it. I like it. Final category, and this was an interesting one you did here, kind of off the cuff, something creative to do. The biggest, we'll say impact as far as players that have missed games. We don't want to say injury, because there have been other reasons for players to miss games other than injury. I'm going to tee off on this one first, because dang it, I've agreed with you too much. Listen, I know most of my answers have been offensive in nature. I'm going to repeat that here. Zay Jones missing takes an element of the pencil whip away from Doug Peterson. Not that he doesn't find a way, like, for example, Travis Etienne for a game-breaking touchdown against the Steelers. One might even think it's strange when he looks for somebody other than Zay Jones. See what I did there with the Brandon Strange drop, right? Talent?
Yes.
But yeah, no, I got Zay Jones hand down. Is when he's not in the game, that's been a big problem. Travis.
Yeah, man. I think I would fully agree with you. Watching him miss he's only played in 2 of the 8 games that we've had this year. And again, that's definitely not in my 2023 tarot card pack. It wasn't on that bingo board for sure. But also seeing,
I like that.
Yeah. But seeing how the offense has struggled, in pivoting from those 3 wide receiver sets that they normally, like to run, and seeing the volume of targets that, Jamal Agnew got in his absence, it's hard to forget about Zay. So I think I would have to agree with you on that one. Yeah. And I can't even say the Cam Robinson loss was a big loss because Walker Little also played out of his mind at that time also. So yeah, I think I'm doubling down with you. I'm going with Zay Jones. Don't forget about Zay.
Little's fault that it's Zay Jones. That's how good you are, Walker Little.
Yeah. Hey, man. I do hope he heals up, for the second half of the season. Let's get this 5 best old linemen on the field.
Yeah.
And Zay Jones also. Sorry. Yes.
And just in time for the 49ers, if you're a member of the Duval Devout, that's going to, if you like football, that's going to be fun to watch. I'm hoping. Oh, actually, fingers crossed. I will be there at Everbank Stadium myself to witness those festivities. Travis, that takes us to the end of the bye-week edition of the Duval Dive. Tell the people where you can be found.
I can be found on all the socials, all of them.
All the socials.
All the socials, on a string, on a cup, everything, man. Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writings on bigcatcountry.com. You can find me here every week, Friday 11 a.m. Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast. You can also find me on Inside the Pigskin from the South Florida Tribune. That is on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And yeah, just hit me up. I love talking football on all the socials, and it is on you, sir.
Hey, fantastic stuff. By the way, he would also like to announce his partnership with Solo Cups, the official cup of the Cup and String communication system. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram and Threads as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Jaguar Report of SI.com and also the 3-point conversion. Also, my work with A7BN Sports. Cover a little bit of the Orlando Magic with them, too. Hoping I'll be at the game Saturday as the Magic host the LA Lakers. That should be fun. Also covering UCF football as well for the Black and Gold Banneret. I'll be watching that Cincinnati game this weekend before the game starts to write up the latest edition of Night Class. So check that out, blackandgoldbanneret.com. And then also the Student of the Game podcast, 8:40 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. And of course, you can catch all of that and this on Sertoba Media's YouTube channel, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Bing! On A7BN Sports Facebook page live, on the 3-point conversion iHeartRadio channel. Check that out. Or you can also check it out on a Huddle Up podcast YouTube channel as well, or any of your podcatchers as well. Also the SOTG on Twitch. There's that. So check that out. Yeah, versatility. Got to find the people, Travis. They won't just come to you. But honor, joy, and privilege for my good friend, Travis Holmes. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. And until next time, everyone, class dismissed. There it is. Here he comes. Okay. We got the dancing.